Yeah, right. That's what we're here for, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by on this lovely Tuesday. As always, I am Eli with Pokemon USA, and this is Alex with Nomics, because that's what he put.
With Nomics.
So today's topic, obviously, we're going to be discussing about if there's some manipulation. What the fuck? Holy crap. If there's been some market manipulation going on within the Pokemon market with the prices, if there's some things that we should really do a little bit of a deep dive into what's going on, because there's definitely some things to talk about if you haven't been following. But before you do so, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. And as always, if you're interested in getting access to Pokemon Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Flesh and Blood, and so much more at wholesale prices, make sure to check out the link down in the description below for our wholesale program. Or message me on Discord.
About Star Wars.
Well, Star Wars, dude. Yeah. All right.
What about Lorcana? What about Lorcana?
Well, dude, okay, Lorcana's coming, dude. It's coming. So kind of update on where the storefront is right now. So I obviously we were on a phone call before this, and I had multiple people call me while I was on the phone with Alex, and one of them was an appointment to get one of our final installations done for the store next week on Tuesday. And then we're in the process of getting the POS system set up, and then we have our counters that are also going to be delivered to us tomorrow. So we're about a week away from having just about everything fully set up for the shipping operation to be sent to the store. So the hope is that we're going to get the POS system and the counters all set up sometime near end of week. And then once we send in the applications to our distributors to get approved for, vending shipments, then it's officially going to start to happen, and we're going to apply for Lorcana play. And so it's exciting. So things are definitely happening. I don't know when we're officially going to open the storefront yet, because I really want to make sure we do a good job about it. But things are definitely coming along, and I'll do a whole video breakdown. I think I already talked about this once we definitely have everything set up, because I'll tell you what, guys, storefronts are expensive, and it'll be a fun one to break down and do a full video on the reality of everything. So
good. Let's manipulate this market then.
Well, let's manipulate the market, ladies and gentlemen. All right, where do you want to start then? Because there's a lot of different things to kind of touch on for today. It's not like we have the title the way it is, but there's a lot really to kind of pick away at it. So I'm curious where you think we should begin.
I mean, all right, let's start with temporal forces, right?
All right.
So look, I'm the last person to blame anything on manipulation or buyouts or anything like that, but it's pretty clear that when this set was released, the pre-order, I guess people who had stuff on pre-order, it sold out pretty quickly, and people were taking advantage of it, especially on the Iron Crown. There was actually a confirmed sale on TCG Player for $247 or something like that. And, the prices held steady up in the hundreds. I mean, even you have a lot more people selling now, and the price is holding up. So we're seeing this in multiple cards. Usually you don't see a lot of cards in a set all spike after pre-release. I know we saw it with the Magikarp. I know we saw it with the Groudon in Paradox Rift, but you normally don't see a whole lot of cards all spike much higher after pre-release, and we're seeing that with this set. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's just because the pull rates might be harder with these. I don't know if it means that a lot of money might be moving from other markets, and now they're trying to, play games and make flips, make plays with these cards now or other TCGs. I don't really know what's going on, but this is not normal.
Yeah, it's for myself, I mean, kind of however you want to put it. For me, I just more or less look at this as just buyouts occurring, right? And you can totally say that is in an aspect market manipulation, but also at the same exact time, there's an aspect of buyouts where they could completely fail. You could have a card that is going for $20 and it shoots all the way up to 50, 60 because a buyout happens. And then shortly thereafter, the price falls back down to around the price it was at before the buyout.
Steam Siege.
Oh, well, what I was thinking to mind was the Groudon. from Paradox Rift, because I talked about it a lot. I still think that the Groudon from Paradox Rift design is extremely cool. And if you guys remember, it was pre-selling for $22, and then the price shot all the way up like a week after release to like $50, and then for a while hovered around 40. But like since then, the price is now stabilized right around the $20 price point. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, if the card itself was pre-selling for right around 22 bucks, and that's where it is right now, it was a buyout that was attempted that didn't obviously succeed. What makes this one more interesting is obviously, like, from a percentage perspective, going from 20 to 50 on pre-sale is huge. But the fact that, and you guys can all check this right now on TCG Player, that we have at least one confirmed sale of the price going all the way up and selling for $247, and then a couple of sales thereafter of it selling at $140. Like, that's crazy. That's kind of wild to see that actually occur and see the price hysteria that happens. So who knows? I mean, it's obviously since then retraced down to $100 after it went all the way from 50 to 250 and 150, now 100. So I'm curious how sustainable this really is.
Yeah, I mean, the Raging Bolt wasn't quite as crazy, but it was pre-selling very regularly in like the 48, 49, 50 range. And there were confirmed sales on that one I'm looking at 105 and also 109.97. So it very clearly doubled that up. And it's holding now in like the high 70s, low 80s. And so obviously it didn't give it all back. It's holding. So, the people got in early and made the play. It looks like there's enough demand and people accept those price points. I guess they accept those higher price points and are willing to pay it.
Yeah. I mean, so with that all being said, what is your kind of outlook on Temporal, just in general right now?
So obviously you always hear a lot of news about people doing mass openings. From what I've seen, it does seem like they did up the difficulty in pulling these cards. So it does seem like these are actually harder to pull. I've only done one box break. I'm going to do another one this week, but I think I opened up between myself and the stream, like maybe 6 to 8 boxes. I can't remember. So, and out of 6 to 8 boxes, I pulled two SIRs.
Oh, wow.
That's wild compared to what we saw with the first, 4 or 5 mainline sets, 4 sets. And was this? Yeah, 5. So it's quite a bit different. So we're talking like alt art type pull rates. I'm not trying to compare these to alt arts or saying these are going to have value like alt arts do right away. But what I'm saying is it does look like they did kind of switch around the pull rates a little bit, make them a little more difficult, which could be the reason why these are spiking a little bit higher as people kind of figure that out.
Interesting. Yeah, it's hard for me to kind of give me my 2 cents, because this is the first Pokemon set I haven't opened up in like at least a year plus. Because most of the time what I'll do is either I'll do a big break or we'll just open a ton and sell it on TCG Player on pre-sale. But we had to have our TCG Player account down because we were moving everything over to the shop. So we didn't want to get caught in the weeds of whatever market volatility might have occurred if we were to just not be able to sell the product, having our account turned off. So it's definitely one to kind of look and see with other people's, perspective on it. I mean, the best I can really speak to on it is just what I have been following with looking at the market prices. And I mean, it's so funny too, because for those of you guys that have been around since like the black and white era, a lot of astonishment towards ace cards. Like, people didn't really know like the true value of how expensive some of these ace cards are and like the competitive playability of them. So it's nice to see that they're still performing strong for what they have done historically speaking, and it's not just a fad that's not coming back for no reason. So
what do you think about the prices of this,
of the ace cards? It seems right to me. Like,
it seems right to you?
It makes sense. Like, you could anticipate that they'll potentially go lower, but it really just comes down to like what ultimately is going to shake up within the meta for ace cards.
They're like 2 a box, right?
Yeah, I know but like
that's kind of like the same pull rates as like a break or a prism.
So are they guaranteed to a box? I don't know the exact pull rates for the new ones.
I think I'd pull 2 out of every box. I mean, if not every box, pretty much every box.
Okay, so you have at least confirmed pull at least 2 out of every box.
I can't remember 100%, but yeah, I mean, it was 2 out of most boxes, I'll say.
It was 2 out of most.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll say like, I don't know, I guess we'll say 1.5 for them. I mean, it's hard to say when comparing to like the history of some of them, because if you go and look at like some of the cheaper ones from like Plasma Storm, you've got them going for like as low as like 8 to 11 bucks. But then on like the higher end of some of like the ace cards, you've got some of them going for as high as like $80, $90. And it's crazy because you're just like, they're not in rotation anymore. Like, sure, you
Right.
can say that people are playing legacy formats, but I don't think that should matter. You know, like that's something where I don't know. So I think that in terms of a pricing perspective, you're probably going to have one of them that is going to be on the more expensive end. It's going to be around probably like the $20 to $30.
Yeah, that's the prime catcher right now. It's like 30. It just seems so high to me because I'm thinking,
And then most of them will
break,
be
I'm thinking like amazing rare, I'm thinking prism. Like it seems like relatively the same kind of hit rates almost.
So here's my prediction. We'll say you're going to have one that's going to be in a range between $15 to $30. And then you'll have maybe one that's going to be like around $10, give or take. And then the rest of them are all going to be around like $5 or $6. That's probably what's going to happen. Cause like that's how it is with any sort of like ace cards. You're going to have some that are going to stay expensive because there is that competitive viability to it. And then the other ones that aren't competitively viable are going to fall off. Right now, we're in the experimental phases in which a lot of these cards that are, being, used, they're still kind of being figured out in the market. But just wait until like an event happens where there's going to be a tournament and someone's going to use a specific ace card and they're going to just do a sweep. Then people are all going to pay a ton of attention. I mean, that's what happened with the Palkia. If you remember the Palkia V-Star card, that card blew up the meta back.
So is that a play?
Astral.
Should we start speculating on ace spec cards and just put a bunch of
I mean, I've always been someone that's talked about the speculation of just cards in general when it comes to competitive playability. When level balls came out, I was super high on level balls. That was something I was like, all right, get ready. Like prices for these are going to go crazy. So same with nest balls, it's nest balls. And it's not even like, how do I want to say this? It's not even like, oh, like these look like good cards. It's, oh no, we've seen the history because ace cards have been used in the past. Nest balls have been used in the past. Like there's a lot of specific cards that have been used in the past, and you can go back and reference the history of it and then try and anticipate that they're probably going to go back. And even more so importantly too, is I know it's different because these ace cards, I'd have to go back and look, are different from the ace cards historically. But if you have like a level ball or you have like a nest ball reintroduced, those older versions of the cards become playable again. And so the value of them skyrockets up because you can still use them because they're now in standard format. As long as one of those type of balls is used within a modern deck, you can use the older versions of them. And so the demand for them skyrockets. So if hypothetically speaking, right, you're like, all right, let me go back, level balls or nest balls being reintroduced. Let me go back and look at some of the older ones that were historically used in some of the like, Diamond and Pearl XY era and pick them up. And you saw a huge spike in value of them.
That's next level play right there. Yeah, go back and look at like all the different tournaments and what was used, what the winners and like the runners up and all used, and try to go back and predict if they're going to remake it and buy out the older cards. That's pretty big brain move there, Eli.
I mean, that was something that I really learned a lot from Mason. That was something Mason talked about in one of his videos. And it was funny too, because he was always, I remember having a conversation with him about it. He was like, I don't get it, man. Like all my videos that do bad are the ones that I put so much value into it. And I feel like people are sleeping on. And I did this one video talking about the reintroduction of the nest ball and how all these prices are going to climb up, and no one watched the video, and it happened. And I'm like, dude, people were sleeping on it. And I'm like, that's just how it is, man.
Well, let's address what Marcus just said, because that's kind of leads into what we were going to talk about too. He said, nah, you're only investing buys right now should be Sword and Shield boxes going out of stock on Pokemon Center right now, Lost Origins. So we wanted to talk about that. Eli's got some news about distribution, pages and some products that are drying up very quickly lately. So let's get into some of that stuff.
Yeah, so we talked about it last week, obviously, when looking at prices continuing to climb. Lost Origin was 170 when we talked about it last week, already at 180, which is just wild. Like within a week, it's already gone up like 6-7%. So pretty cool to see. And with that, being said, when it comes to around this time, like we discussed, Pokemon tends to not usually print. You'll usually have like maybe a tiny reprint of a specific item in May, but usually this is where things start to dry up in terms of supply, which is why prices start to go up. And we were at the point in which, all right, reprints happens. Now things are stabilizing, but now things are drying up. Looking at distributor pages, most of our distributors are completely out of Lost Origin product in general. I'm not talking booster boxes. I'm talking like build and battle stadiums, build and battles, sleeved cases. Like these were items that when people were wanting to get boosters, but the booster EVs were not as good as some of the other miscellaneous items of Sword and Shield era, that was the go-to that everyone was going for. And literally just as a couple of days ago, the sleeved and the stadiums both sold out. So you're starting to see a lot of these super duper hot items that everyone has been buying from Sword and Shield to take advantage of, just Sword and Shield era product. They're kind of starting to go away. So with it being available on the Pokemon Center website is definitely fascinating. I think that it's going to have to go out soon. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, it's like this kind of cycle. And I was talking to Alex about this. It's like distributors run out of product, retailers start to raise the prices of those products because it's no longer available. So this is it if they're going to maximize value. And then prices start to go up for those items. And then what was affordable for most people, because people liked Sword and Shield era product at certain prices, they now start to look to what is more affordable. And I think that's potentially going to be Scarlet and Violet era booster boxes. But, only time is going to tell. But that's exactly what happened when comparing Sun and Moon to Sword and Shield and so on.
Yeah, and like I think that's the TCG player sale definitely helped too with the 8% cashback, because with Scarlet and Violet era product, like sure, it moved a lot of product, but there's still tons out there where the price can just kind of get knocked back down after the sale. Whereas a lot of these Sword and Shield sets, you didn't see the prices get immediately right back down after the sales. They're staying up there. They're continuously selling at the same prices they sold for on the sale day, because like Eli said, they're just not out there. You can't find them anymore. A lot of the bigger stores and bigger sellers have already dumped their supply or whatever amount of supply they're looking to dump at these prices. And now it's just kind of in the hands of the secondary market and the, single sellers and, investors, whatever, collectors, whatever it may be. And it's just, unless the demand sharply falls off all of a sudden for Sword and Shield, which I don't see, the price really has nothing to do but go up.
Yeah, especially with rotation happening in April. Like I said before, it's kind of like, and this is such a weird comparison to make, but it's kind of like the Fed meetings. Like there's always a lead up to the market reacting to what's going to happen and the anticipation before the Fed meeting. And then what ends up happening the actual day of. I feel like for me, not necessarily like people know when the rotation is going to happen, but the anticipation for that rotation happening and the expectation that we're not going to get any reprints for any of these items because we're less than a month away, has me to believe that this is also another general reaction to people realizing, hey, Sword and Shield era product, like majority of it is about to go out of rotation. This is it. And odds of us getting another Lost Origin and Silver Tempest reprint, because at this point, Evolving Skies, Fusion, Chilling, Battle Styles, like goodbye. Like that's it. It's a 0% as of 3-4 weeks from now. So it's unlikely we're gonna see Brilliant, Astral, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest. I think if anything, you can make an argument Crown Zenith is the most likely, being the oldest of the Sword and Shield. But yeah, so there's just so many factors at play right now with these prices and the timing of it all. So we'll see what happens with Scarlet and Violet. So I'm definitely hoping that we'll see some price movement with Paldea Evolve because I'm obviously a firm believer. I don't really have any bags for it. Like, I mean, I've talked to you guys about it. My bags are mainly in Lost Origin boosters and Silver Tempest and Brilliant. So, but for me, I'm a believer, and I'd like to at least see the performance of a Scarlet and Violet set do well, just so that people can at least realize, like, hey, man, like, it's not as bad as people put the Scarlet Violet era out to be. It's just in retrospect.
We just talked about that before the stream too, and there's definitely differences between the Sun and Moon sets, but everyone talking about waiting, right? Waiting for the next later sets. It's like, yeah, I mean, Team Up definitely, it blew up. Like, definitely, you have Unbroken Bonds and you have Unified Minds and Cosmic Eclipse, but here's the big but here. Ultra Prism doing great. Celestial Storm doing great. Lost Thunder doing great. Like, there's a lot of sets that are performing as good or better than some of the tag team sets that were released earlier. So it's like, just because these are early sets, it doesn't mean a Temporal Forces or a Paldea Evolved won't be high flyers in the future. It's just, this is how it is every era. Everyone, when things are available, when they're cheap, nobody wants them, no one appreciates them. And then all of a sudden they start rising in price and people realize, oh, wow, that card is sought after. Oh, those are harder to hit than I thought. Oh, those are hard to grade, or whatever it may be comes up, and the prices start rising. They get harder to find, which makes more people want them. It's just a weird market, but I definitely could see Paldea being like one of the first sets to see those 120s, 130s, a booster box.
Well, I think there's two things to that, and I obviously discussed this before the stream with you. I think that it's a factor of when it came to XY era. The reason why XY era, in my belief, performed so poorly was because when you had the black and white era, you had the introduction of old full arts. It was a new concept that we had never seen before, and so it was super hot, super innovative. And then going into plasma, and then going into legendary collection, and then the golden shinies, and there were so many cool concepts that were introduced in black and white. And then going into XY, the real transitional shift was, hey, instead of getting full art EXs, you're getting mega EXs. It's like the equivalent of, instead of getting V and V Star and VMAX alternate arts, you're now getting Terra alternate arts or EX alternate arts. And so you're starting to see that like transition where, hey, we've already gotten this exact same type of alternate art for the past entire, generation, starting with battle styles for Sword and Shield. Same concept goes with black and white to XY. So there is that like, hey, we've already been seeing this. This isn't a huge like uniqueness to it. So in my personal belief, I think that we could totally see before the second half, like Alex was saying, a resurgence in value for some of the next couple of sets. But ultimately, the question just comes down to, when are we going to get that next big character set, right? Because the last two before Tag Team was introduced was Celestial Storm, which was a Rayquaza set, was Lost Thunder, which was a Lugia set. And so far, of like the older type Pokemon, and we're talking booster boxes, right? Not specialty sets. The only one we've gotten that's centered around a main chase has been Obsidian Flames, which is Darkness Ablaze / Champions Path 2.0. And so it's like, we're waiting for that next kind of set that's going to have that amazing character that's going to bring a ton of value. Because ultimately, like, we know that when it comes to second half, it usually doesn't happen until starting the new year. Like, Tag Team came out in February, if I'm correct. It was February, January. And then you had Battle Styles come out in March. So you get the introduction or the announcement over at Worlds is when they tease it. And then you have a couple of sets to kind of round out the year. And then you get the new stuff. So we're going to basically see what that kind of new stuff is going to be in the second half come August. But realistically, I'm hoping that we will get some good things to end out the year. Because I mean, that's something that they usually have done. I mean, whether you're a fan of Shining Fates or not, they do like to throw in something special to kind of end it off before they go into the next, cycle of art designs, like with the Lugia set. So I don't know. I'm definitely expecting it to be good. I'm just hoping that it it gets announced sooner than later. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You know, I mean, I agree with everything you said, man. I know a lot of people are talking about 151 right now with the reprint announced in Japan. You know, a lot of things happen in Japan, like with their economy, their currency, their, you know, the Japanese Pokemon market is obviously on decline. And, you know, my personal belief is, you can give your opinion, but my personal belief is a lot of the people that were just there, not saying everyone was, right? There's a lot of people that love Japanese cards, and the market will be fine eventually. But a lot of people that were there for just the stonks, the free tendies, are starting to pull out, I think. And a lot of that money is starting to come back to English. I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these price spikes. I think it's why we're seeing price spikes and things like, you know, the Star Wars trading card game and more One Piece, and then like the new Dragon Ball game and the Lorcana. It's like, you know, everyone's looking for another stonk and another play. Like now we're seeing these Temporal Forces cards go to the moon. And I feel like money is continuously coming out of the Japanese market and looking for more stonks, because everyone's just addicted to that flip. And so for my opinion on 151, people are asking about it in the chat. I think we're going to see sub $100 booster boxes. I mean, they're already dropping in the low 100s. You know, the reprint's not even here yet. Depending on how big the reprint is, we'll just, you know, depending on how bad it is. But I think we'll see sub 100 boxes. We're already seeing mainline boxes, like, you know, down in like the 30s and 40s. I just think it's going to be a period of like stabilization, of, you know, kind of consolidation. I think it's going to be relatively, you know, not a whole lot of action, at least in the next 6 months, a year. And a lot of that money is going to come back to like a lot of these English or other TCGs that are having action, because people just, they want the action, right? They want to see things move. They want to be able to get in, you know, on things at the right timing. And I think a lot of people know that Sword and Shield and some of these things are the right timing right now.
I mean, for myself, so first and foremost, the 151 reprint, that is something that is new information to me. So I
believe it's in May.
So I obviously I shouldn't say obviously. I've been watching 151 prices for Japan, and how it's just been absolutely mind-boggling to watch the continued price growth of it. I don't think it's been going crazy recently, but for me, if you do see that reprint come in May, I don't think it's crazy to say that that's going to be one of the best pickups, bar none. I think it's going to be an insane pickup to get, because for myself, I think that the reason why I loved Lost Origin so much as a pickup was because we saw it almost hit 200 right before it got printed. So you knew the possibility of it skyrocketing up again was pretty likely. And that's just history repeating itself. And so for me, seeing what we've already seen with Japanese 151 prices, it just feels like kind of a no-brainer to go pick some up, just because, you know, who knows when it'll hit the all-time high again. But after the reprint, that correction is still going to follow up with an eventual bounce in price after it crashes, and still being a part of that is going to generate a lot of profits. So I'm definitely going to be following that, especially knowing that's in May. That's fantastic, because that gives me time to get my liquidity situation kind of, you know, set up for the shop and getting that all taken care of, so I can know truly how much I can put in, because man, that's going to be a really good opportunity.
Yeah, Bob, it's not betting. It's English. Sorry, I thought you were saying I'm betting if 151's coming soon. No, it's confirmed for Japanese. Yeah, English. I mean, English should get a reprint too. I can't see it not, right? But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see like how. Put it this way, that reprint, that 151, that if that doesn't perform well after the reprint, like if there's not enough demand to push that higher with the supply that gets dumped, I would be very worried about all the other recent Japanese sets. So like that 151, that reprint, it has to get bought up. It has to rise quickly, because if there's not enough demand to eat that up, we're in some trouble.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, and that I think is something that it leads into the next, I think, good conversation is, what do we kind of anticipate from Twilight? Because at least for myself right now, all right, we've got pre-orders coming up in the next 5 days is the deadline. And we currently know that the set comes out literally May 24th, if I'm correct. So we're literally 2 months out, less than 2 months out from the set release. We don't, and I guess I'll kind of just start with this. We only know the first half of it. We don't know what the second half. So it's really hard for us to say, anything hyperbolic about it looks great, it looks bad, it looks whatever, right? I mean, the first half definitely doesn't look as promising as I would have hoped. But regardless of what the second half is going to look like, based on the fact that we have zero word of any sort of, reprints coming on our end for Pokemon, and I mean, at least for Scarlet and Violet, other than 151, I hope not, because these prices are already so cheap. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw prices continuously climb up for Scarlet and Violet as supply continues to dwindle for distribution. And then by the time Twilight comes out, it performs, I don't know what the second half is, but it performs better than what it potentially would have, barring that we don't have any more product flooded onto the market, if that makes sense. Because you could totally see a situation where, I mean, heck, I know it's not COVID times, but I talked about this before on stream. Battle Styles obviously was pre-selling for 150. Like, it's a set that people were going into pretty heavy because of the general lackluster amount of supply, because supply chains were an issue. And of course, once the market started to dump more product into the supply, you saw it price correct. And the same thing happened with chilling and fusion. But then once chilling started to kind of clear up and the market started to dry up, you saw that kind of price action occur with fusion, chilling, battle styles all going up in value. So regardless of whether this set is a battle styles or a chilling rain or a fusion, I guess my point is that there is going to be a point in which you can still perform strong if there is a lack of supply on the market, because then the demand is still going to need to find a way to get something affordable while prices for other items go up.
Here's the thing, man. I'm kind of counter to what the accepted opinion is right now. I mean, I think you're kind of along the lines of what most people are thinking right now. Is the majority of people are kind of on the bandwagon of the first half of SV has been trash, and everyone's kind of holding their money for the later part and stuff. Look, I'm gonna look like a genius, or I'm gonna look like a complete idiot, but I'm still very bullish on Scarlet Violet. I continuously buy more. I hold every Scarlet Violet set. I think they're all undervalued. I think people are overly negative on them. And whenever people are overly negative on something, that usually means positivity in the future. And so these next 2-3 years are going to be fun to see how they play out. That's kind of my position on the sets right now. Like, I think they're all going to, obviously you're going to have better and worse performers, but I do think we're going to see a better performance than what a lot of people are expecting.
Well, it's not that I think that like Scarlet and Violet is like the first half is awful. It's that, like I said, with the example I gave before with comparing Black White to XY, you're just like, it's an extension of the same art designs, except for the slight twist, which is Terra typing gimmick, Terra typing to Mega. And the Terra typing gimmick obviously has not gone over well. I mean, at least Megas as a gimmick were super fan favorites of. And then, of course, the main Pokemon in which have been getting these alternate art designs, at least for the most part, were of the Gen 9 Pokemon. And a lot of people didn't really care for that. Now, granted, Paldean Fate is one where there is that kind of exception because the art designs for the Pokemon were so well done along with the Iono. And so I think you're seeing that as well right now with Temporal, because, you've got the Raikou, Suicune, Entei, which have their own, kind of fresh twist to it, which is cool. So it'll be interesting to see what that's going to eventually look like with some of the newer ones. But yeah, it's like, I'm not like, oh my God, super down on Scarlet and Violet, because we're only like 5 sets in, right? So it's kind of preemptive, but it's not like, I mean, it's going about how I expected it to go. It's not like over the top amazing. It's not, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, but it's just kind of middle of the road for me right now. Cause I look at 151 and I say 151 is not a bad set, but it's not like one of the best sets ever. Right. I look at Paldea Evolved. I think it's an incredible set with a lot of really good art designs, but I'm not going to compare it to some of the best sets that we saw within the Sword and Shield era because it still doesn't hold up to those. So it's like, for me, outside of those main two, Temporal is not too shabby. Paradox, not too shabby. Obviously, you know my disdain for Obsidian, but I think that there's still more to come within the Scarlet and Violet that is going to make it much, much better kind of outlook. Like, I think going back, when we start to see some of the more sets that are going to come out with Scarlet and Violet, it's going to look incredible compared to what we're looking at right now. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean that what is available right now still can't perform well.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, man.
But all right, where are we right now? We're at 35 minutes in. Anything else you kind of want to discuss before we start doing questions?
You know, I just think like all these other TCGs, man, I just think they're just like if it's a good IP, if it's like a strong IP and they're putting out a brand new product, okay, you already know it's not going to be printed as high as like a Pokemon or a Yu-Gi-Oh or a Magic, right? So you know it's going to be a smaller print run, and you know that's going to be easier to rise in value out of the gate, especially with, you know, hype for the newness and people wanting to open it, streamers wanting to open it, people wanting to speculate on it, whatever. And it just seems like, you know, obviously there's always risk involved, but it just seems very low risk on a lot of these brand new products. I mean, the new Dragon Ball Fusion, right, comes out of the gate spikes, right? Like Star Wars comes out of the gate spikes, right? All the One Piece spikes. It's just like, it's almost like a cheat code right now. It's just people are looking for places to speculate. People are looking for newness. They want something new, and they know Pokemon and Magic and it's boring, right? It's like, that's going to sit for a while, whatever. And I just think, you know, any of these new TCGs that pop up that are based on big IPs that come out, I mean, they're just good plays right now. So it's something other to look into if you're looking for different opportunities out there.
Yeah. And it's hard because for me, like, the question comes down to the speculative plays, and this is obviously not financial advice. We're not financial advisors, is making sure to know that they are speculative, because it kind of reminds me of crypto, where you had like Bitcoin. And this might be a weird comparison, and I'll probably get some flack for this, but I see like Pokemon as Bitcoin. Like, I think it is the top dog. It's the number one IP. And then all the other kind of TCGs for what they are. And I'm not including, you know, Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh in this because it's hard to compare, because Magic more or less is like, it's a player's game. It's not a collector's game, right? You're collecting a lot from Lorcana. You're collecting a lot from One Piece. It's the speculation between, let's go find what altcoin is going to pop off next, or what meme coin or stonks coin that we want to get into while the wave is hot. And it doesn't have the kind of, you know, backing behind it as, you know, Pokemon does, with it having the history and the performance it does, but it has a potential speculatively to perform well. And people like to take those risks because for certain items, they feel like they've missed the boat and they want those stonk plays. They want that Evolving Skies for $90 going up to $700. So that's, you know, something that I totally see people doing, but also understand that there is inherent risk to it, because there is going to come a point where some of these speculative TCGs, I mean, MetaZoo is a perfect example of that.
However, one thing, MetaZoo, they were trying to do something different. They were trying to build an entire new, like, you know, an entire new genre, entire new IP. Whereas like these other TCGs are just kind of piggybacking off already successful IPs, which is, it's a little different.
It is a little different to that extent. I can understand where you're coming from with that, but there's still a lot of other IPs, such as Sorcery, such as Flesh and Blood, like that, are still around or performing good or are speculative. So you can take it as it is if you feel more confident in successful IPs that have already performed previously. But how many, I don't know about you, but how many times have you in the history of Star Wars seen them try and come out with like a tops version of like collectible Star Wars cards. Like Star Wars trading cards have been around forever and they've been completely redone constantly. And so it's one of those things where the timing obviously seems to be right, which is why it's coming out the gate swinging hot, but that doesn't always guarantee. I mean, Lorcana, for what it is, the hype was huge, but it's been pretty shaky all in all. Like there has been a lot of messes around the print runs and the overall like, hey, so we're going to like print X amount and it's going to come out during this time. And then 3 months later, it's delayed. And, you know, so there's always
I should have been more clear. Like with the new stuff, I'm talking more short-term plays. Like I don't know if I'd be putting away Star Wars TCG for the next 5 years type thing.
Okay, that's probably a good thing to mention. That's a good thing to mention for sure. Yeah. And maybe that's a good preface for people to know, like, if you're going to do these speculative plays, it's kind of like GameStop. It's kind of like AMC. You better be ready to sell at some point and not try and hold before it retraces.
Yeah, don't get greedy. Like, don't be afraid to take profits, guys. Like, you know, there's a million different reasons to take profits, and everyone takes profits at different points. And the thing about investing, you don't know if you're going to be right? Like you could take profits right now on Evolving Skies and throw it in, I don't know, Lost Origin, and you could do better in the next year or two. Maybe Evolving Skies performs better. You don't know, right? All you can do is make the best decision, like educated that you can. And so, like, you know, if you got into Star Wars pre-release in the 80s and it jumped to 150 and you took profits, don't feel bad about that. You made a great play. Like, even if it does go to 200, 300, whatever. I just wouldn't, that's one thing, is don't beat yourself up for taking gains, even if you missed out on some of the move.
But Alex, I don't want 30, 40% gains. I want 400, 500, 600. Where's my Lambo, bro? I want my Lambo. Come on now, dude. What is this?
I know, man. I know. Trust me.
Yeah, it's definitely something that people will get caught up on, including, I mean, we all get it. We're all humans, we're all emotional, so making sure that we can know when to sell is important. All right, how are you feeling now? Are you feeling like it's time to start taking? Oh, well, I should probably mention it while we're here because we got around 140 people. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Does help the algorithm, helps the channel. And then I said it before, I'll say it again because I got people here. If you're interested in Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Flesh and Blood, and so much more at wholesale prices, make sure to check the link down in the description below to check out our wholesale program, or message me on Discord if you have any questions about it.
Yeah, I think someone did have a question in the chat about like outside the US. How's that work?
So outside the US is one of those hard situations because it's so case by case based on the state, or sorry, not the state, based on the country you live in. So for me, what I always tell people is if you're interested in joining and you live outside the US, it's totally possible. However, I would preemptively come into the program with a middleman provider that you use, because we do have people that live outside the US that work in the program. Like we've got at least 3 or 4 people, which isn't crazy. I mean, we've got like almost 120 members, so it's very minuscule, but I mean, we're a US based company, so it makes sense. So it happens, it works, but they have their own middleman providers that they use for shipping, because we don't ship directly to you in your other country, because we just don't like to get into the weeds of customs, because it can get really, I mean, it can be very time consuming. There could be a lot of additional expenses that will have to be factored into shipping. So for us, we like to have people coming in with a middleman provider or a forward shipping company that they can use for the program. So if you live outside the States, we're definitely willing to cater to you, but have that expectation that you're coming into the program using a forward shipping company or a middleman service company for shipments.
Cool.
Oh, we got a $2 donation. Let's see what it says. Shout out to Kato. Sir, do you guys have any 2019 Armored Mewtwo tins?
I sure wish I did.
I do not have any 2019 Armored Mewtwo tins. Sadly, I do not. My inventory is it's full of other stuff. Oh, do you want, okay, I don't know if I should or shouldn't do this, but we did an inventory. You should. We definitely should. All right, great. We did an inventory count of everything we have in terms of our cost basis for sealed product for Pokemon and then what the current market value is of the items. And it's so interesting to see the value. So when we did our inventory, back like I want to say like 6 months ago, 5 months ago, it said that our net cost basis that we put into everything was around $36,000 and the market value was at $50,000. And since then we've added about $4,000 to put it at $40,000. And it says the value of the collection now is worth $70,000.
You gotta love investing. Well, here I did a similar statistic. I had a live stream and I unfortunately didn't upload it because so much issues happened. My PC crashed, my camera went down. I was talking without a mic. It was a mess. But one of the statistics I showed in there was literally if you would, because there's a lot of people, and not everyone in the chat, but there's a lot of people who are resellers, right? Who operate with $100,000 of inventory, right? You'd agree with that?
Oh, 100%.
So if you would have put that 100 grand 2 years ago into Fusion Strike at $80, right? You would, what the cases are going for now on the market, you would literally have made about 75 grand per year off of your investment. Now, it's not easy to flip 100K inventory and make 75K profit a year. Meaning, if you're flipping your 100K inventory 3 times a year, making like 20, 25%, you basically would have been making the same of just holding Fusion Strike, sitting on the couch, watching TV every day, not doing an ounce of work, and selling now for the same like 150 grand in 2 years. It's pretty wild to see like how fast some of the stuff's appreciating and the returns you could make.
Yeah. It's crazy to see, man. I'm like, whew,
feeling good.
It's a good thing I went pretty heavy in Lost Origin boosters. I feel pretty good.
Hey, it's almost like investing in Pokemon works or something. Like,
it's crazy how that happens.
Almost.
I know. It's one of those things too where it was funny because so like when so I made a bet on it, right? I said to myself, all right, Lost Origin Silver Tempest reprint's coming up. I'm going to make a bet because I want to get a home at the end of 2024. That was my goal. And I said, I'm going to make a bet that come the spring of 2024, what we've already talked about is going to happen, right? I'm like, it's going to happen. The reprint's going to occur. It's going to find its bottom. And then once all the reprints are done and we go into the new year and product starts to dry up, prices are going to go up. That is my prediction. And I'm like dumping everything I have, all the money that I made in the past year. I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going to dump $36,000 into the sealed product. Been saving up for the past year. This is it. This is that big investment, right?
Here's the question. How did it feel after you clicked that button and bought it? Was it a little scary?
After I clicked the button, it felt great. But then going into like December, January, I was like, it's kind of the same price. But it's one of those things where it's like, I bought it all in like October. So it wasn't one of these things where it's like, all right, I bought October, should all 100% after a month or two, right? But it's one of these things where it was like, with the storefront happening, right? And then with the speculation of the housing market and, interest rates were going down during the December and January period, I was like getting calls like, hey, you should probably start buying now because interest rates are at like a 5.75 or like 6%. Like, this is a great time to get in. And I'm over here like, oh, my money's a Lost Origin. Like, I can't sell it. I'm not going to sell my Lost Origin. And so thankfully the storefront was actually a great thing because for myself, it was like, oh man, if I want to start selling like a lot of my sealed product to try and get a home, I'm going to, in like January, February, March, I'm going to have to start doing it now. But a lot of my value of my collection hasn't appreciated. So this feels like a terrible time to sell because I'm not getting max value and it's going to take so much time. And then the storefront happened. And then all of a sudden that forced me to not need to sell the product. I was like, all right, storefront's going to happen. Don't need to sell the product. And then before you know it, the product started to appreciate while I was setting up the store. And so I was like, fan-freaking-tastic. So it ends up actually working out better because then I'm not force selling all of my product to get a better interest rate. I'm instead at least appreciating the value for when I was originally planning on getting my home, which was sometime near the end of this year. So I think that's still, regardless of what the interest rates are, going to be a better play because it's not like you can't refinance, right? Like, it obviously have its expenses that come with refinancing and doing the math, but Man, I'll take that $20,000 appreciation any day over that.
And now you have Lost Origin boxes in the store listed at $199.99.
Oh gosh, yeah, that'll definitely be a nice outlet to be able to sell things from. I'm excited for that. So, because it's like that's the thing, man, is like when you have as many cases, which it's not like I have a crazy amount of case of Lost Origin. I have like 14 and a half. I mean, that's a lot for most people, but like there's people that have way bigger bags than me, right? But having that outlet to not have to like sell it online and like compete with shipping and fees, or if I want to, I can go that avenue, but I now have an extra route that I can go in terms of being able to sell it locally as well as online. So that's definitely going to be nice. Cause I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, all of that, like I said, 36,000 turned into 70, that's all going to be used as inventory for the store. So we're going to be making sure that it's moving. So, cause I mean, when you have any sort of storefront, you're going to have supply coming from somewhere, and might as well be the backstock we've been holding on to that's appreciated. So I'm excited.
No, I mean, I've been going through that same thing on a smaller level with like, live streaming and opening packs. It's like, I have to constantly make sure I have stuff to open, but then also I don't want to go through all my whole, investment inventory. It's a rough line to walk. That's going to be even rougher when you have a full-time store like that.
Oh, well, it's funny too. Cause like, man, so obviously the program's been doing really well for the past, I mean, honestly, since like June or July. Like since I want to say October, we've averaged about 300,000 in sales a month, which is crazy to say because like I think our worst month has been like 200,000 since then.
That's it.
So
Jeez.
I know, crazy, right? I mean, dude, just with Temporal, we did 200 in Temporal just off of the release of Temporal Forces. So it's been fantastic to see. Like, there's still a ton of volume going to Pokemon. I mean, we'll see what happens with the supply running out, but hope his prices will go up for those items that no one was buying. But I digress. With that all being said, for myself, I look and I say, wow, I was originally going to sell all these loose packs in mystery packs that I went and bought a while ago. And I haven't had the opportunity to do that because I've just been so swamped. So I haven't done the mystery packs. I'm sitting on 260 Evolving Skies loose packs that I had no intention of selling or doing anything other than throwing them in the mystery packs, which the price is now since doubled when I first got them. So it's like, holy crap. Like, I'm still going to eventually make the mystery packs and throw them in, but to see that like major appreciation where it's like, all right, so you get an Evolving Skies pack in each one, like that's kind of a cool plus. But now it's like, oh, you get an Evolving Skies pack in each mystery pack. You know what I mean? Like the value adds on when it's no longer a $5, it's now a $10 pack. So it's cool to see.
Tom asked a question right recent, like five up. He asked, what's a better investment, Crown Zenith or 151 Japanese? If you're asking right this second, like if you're looking to spend your money today, I'm going to say Crown Zenith. But if you're asking me in 2-3 months, like after the reprint hits, like I truly believe like we're going to see sub $100 Japanese 151 booster boxes. I think there's going to be a better entry points, Tom. So either save your money if you want to buy now and you're going to buy then too, maybe buy some Crown now, buy 151 later. But I don't think you need to be rushing in right now to 151. I think it's going to continue to drop.
So my belief on this is we've got confirmation May 151 is going to happen, right? If you're choosing between the two, I think it's a no-brainer to wait till May to get the 151 reprint for Japan. That just makes sense. I'm a huge fan of Crown Zenith, but as we've discussed within our videos and historically speaking, most English specialty sets have multiple reprints throughout the like generational cycle when it's in rotation. And it takes time as well because these English ETB specialty sets are going to have so much more print of it that it's not going to just immediately appreciate in the same way as some of the Japanese specialty sets will. So I am a fan of Crown Zenith long term. I think it'll perform great, but it's going to take a lot more time to appreciate. So I think you can make an easy argument to take advantage of the volatility of 151 now, and then, later.
Not now. Like in a couple months.
You know what I mean? Now as in like when the reprint happens, and then with Crown Zenith, I feel like you can be patient on that. Now, this is not financial advice. Who knows? Crown Zenith could go to the moon in the next couple months or next year. But even if there is or isn't a reprint, I mean, look at Celebration. Celebration's still at 80. Like Shining Fates is still at 50. You've got Hidden Fates, which for the longest time has been going sideways. It's just now finally going up in value after 3 or 4 years. So we have the history of specialty sets and how they've performed English wise over the past 5, 6, 7 years. So I don't think that's something you really have to be concerned in terms of like, oh, am I going to miss the boat on Crown Zenith? I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities to get in on it.
And then you can take the next question, but I did want to address Horizon. He says, skip Evolving Skies. You missed the boat. So many better investments. So, dude, I just want to, I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not trying to be against you, but just look back at some things. You could have said you missed the boat at Team Up when it was 700, because that's about what it was when the boom happened, right? Well, since then, it's over tripled. And most of the other sets from that time did not triple. And so you could do the same thing with Flashfire, right? Like you could look at the best sets from eras and you did not miss the boat at 300, 500, 700, whatever it may be. And so if Evolving Skies does what everyone thinks it's going to do, and the Moonbryon is truly that, the new base set Charizard, there's a possibility Evolving Skies could still outperform these sets. There's a world where Evolving Skies can hit $1,500 before some of these other sets double. Like we could have a $1,500 Evolving Skies box, and all these other boxes could be $300 and $400. Like there is a realm of possibility where that happens. So I have a hard time telling people they missed out because we just don't know. I mean, you could have said you missed out on Team Up at 700 and you didn't. So look, there's a good possibility all these other sets could outperform it percentage wise. I 100% agree, but it's too early to say you missed out. I think that's my opinion.
Well, it's kind of like when you had the very small, tiny reprint happen for Evolving Skies in August 2022, where price went from $200 to in some places as low as $120, but realistically market was $130, $140, right? At the end of the day, when you had the first initial large print of Evolving Skies where the price crashed down to low 100s and it went all the way up to 200, you might say to yourself, oh, well, you missed the boat of it going to as low as 100. Your best bet is 140, 150, and that's close to its all-time high. But at the end of the day, like, even if it's like far away from its all-time high, you at least knew that, hey, this is an item that's hot. We've seen it hit $200 twice now. Regardless of whether or not we think it's going to, go lower, it's not exactly the worst to get in at this price point because you can always dollar cost average based on watching the volatility. Obviously, Evolving Skies is in a situation right now where we don't know what the ultimate ceiling is, but we do know that based on what history has shown us, it is an extremely volatile item where you could easily see a ton of price action still continue with it going up. I mean, like, how many times have we had this conversation? Oh, it hits $200. This is its previous high. It's going to be a while before it hits $300. Oh, it's hit $400. It's going to be a while before it hits $700. And, it does have its stopping points where it goes sideways for 2 or 3 months. But then after those 2, 3, 4 months, it goes sideways. It then, goes up another 10, 20, 30% over another 2, 3, 4 month period. So it has its waves. So it looks like 700 might be the next stopping point for the next, who knows, 2, 3, 4, 5 months before, after it waits and goes sideways for a little bit, it hits 1,000, 2, 3, 4, 5 months after. Like you never know. It's all speculation, obviously, and trying to kind of feel out how the volatility is. That was what led me to get into Lost Origin, because I just kind of felt that way. And same goes with Chilling Reign. You could have played the same argument with Chilling Reign, right? When Chilling Reign went to 140, could have said I missed the boat. Fusion Strike, when it was at 130, 140, I mean, Fusion's at what, 240 right now? 230, something like that.
You could say it right now with Lost Origin and be wrong.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I could sit here and say Lost Origin, I mean, because it's 180 TCG player. You can probably find it elsewhere for like 150, 160 off market. You go pick it up for that price point, who knows? It could easily be 300 to end this year or next year. And that sounds like a hot take to say, but who thought Evolving was going to be at 7? Like, let's be real.
I've been on both sides of it, right? Like I sold, Evolutions boxes at 900 to 1,000, and you look back, like, oh, I was a genius. I got out of those years ago. They still haven't moved up. Perfect sale. But then I sold Team Up, my Team Up, when it was 700. And I'm looking at Team Up now like, wow, I'm an idiot. Like I really screwed up there. So it's like, you're never going to know what's going to happen. It's just, I just always am cautious to say something is too late, because especially something like Evolving Skies.
Well, I think too, and this is kind of the approach that I've taken more so now, is although I am a huge fan of getting in items that just feel like, I mean, they're just locks, like reprints for Sword and Shield era products. I like looking at items that we've seen historical volume get dumped into that are extremely volatile, because we know that this is a market that is a depreciating, or like it's depreciating in supply, like it's deflationary. So for me, it feels like a no-brainer that, hey, if this has historically been an extremely volatile item, then it feels like a no-brainer for me to get into it, because as it starts to deflate in its supply, it's going to then take that volatility and it's going to go upwards. And you kind of can feel that through the entire Sword and Shield generation, right? You've seen the volatility of, like, honestly 70 to 80% of the booster boxes within Sword and Shield. And so I don't think it's a hot take to say that even with a lot of these like booster boxes now, whether it be Brilliant or Silver Tempest or Lost Origin, or I mean, there's so many of them you can make arguments for that they're going to be extremely well. I mean, my only thing is with this is battle styles. Obviously, everyone looks at battle styles and says, oh man, it's so cheap compared to the other ones. It might be a good buy. That's possible, but it's been the least volatile one out of all of the other ones. So it's really hard for me to pull the trigger, because I almost look at it as like the Crimson Invasion of the Sun and Moon era. Like, it took its time. It eventually did go up in value, but it took way longer than everything else before it appreciated, because the volatility was so lackluster compared to everything else.
Same as
And
Team Siege.
yeah, so I'd much rather, like, I hate to say this, and I could be wrong, right? This is all speculation, right? You can prove me wrong. Battle styles prove me wrong. I feel like I'd much rather avoid battle styles and go in something like a Silver Tempest or a Lost Origin, even at the current prices, because I feel a lot more confident in the upwards, trajectory with the volatility of those sets.
Yeah, Silver Tempest for sure. Like those boxes are still in the 120s, 130s, most like on eBay, I think. And Battle Styles isn't much further behind that, like in the 110s maybe, or maybe it's under 110 still. But I mean, around the same price. Like, yeah, I would take a Silver Tempest far before Battle Styles. Like Lost Origin, it's kind of ran away a little bit. Like that's quite a bit different price than Battle Styles. But Silver Tempest is it's pretty close to a Battle Styles price. Like I'd go Silver Tempest still right now at the current price.
I agree, because we've seen Silver Tempest hit upwards of 180 historically. We saw that was like, I think its cap point before it got the reprint. So it's climbed. I want to kind of point this out because I feel like this is a good point to make. I don't think it's too late, but I do think I'd personally rather spend $700 or a few cents in cents. I like that idea. I like that idea because obviously and like we said, there's totally money still to be made in evolving. But with that being said, you also have to think in percentage gain. Right now, if we want to gain 10% on Evolving Skies, it has to go to 770. That's totally possible. That's super duper easy, right? But right now, if we want to have Silver Tempest gain 10%, it just has to go up $14. It's like, arguably, you would say that based on the volatility of Evolving Skies, 770 feels super easy for it to get into. But hypothetically speaking, and this is just a whirlwind of a hypothetical, if something were to happen speculatively in the Pokemon market where prices were to correct, having a semblance of diversity where you could have 140 in Silver Tempest, 180 in Lost Origin, $200 in, Fusion or Chilling or whatever, right? You definitely have a semblance of security knowing that we've seen a lot of these other Sword and Shield era boxes perform extremely well with the volatility in them, and you don't feel so tied down to specifically one item, and you can still see performances go up for some of the others.
And then you could speculate even further. You could have some Sleepy Pikachus and some Skunk Tank All-Stars.
Man, let's go down the rabbit hole. Yeah, that's speculation. That's why we're talking speculative. That's for sure. But what other questions do you see? Is there anything that kind of pops at you? Oh, here's one. I guess I can just kind of answer it unless you have one in mind that you see.
Go ahead.
Eli, when do you plan on selling enough LO to pull out your initial investment? It's kind of an interesting question to ask because for me, obviously it started off as an investment, but now it's kind of changed because of the fact that I have a store. So before, it was one of these things where, all right, my game plan is I was going to hold the product, and then hopefully it was going to perform well enough so that by the summer of this year, I was going to start to offload my bags so that I could use that money towards a down payment on a home, right? That was kind of my ultimate game plan. Obviously, prices have gone up faster than anticipated. Yay. And with me now having a storefront, it makes me feel as if, hey, I don't feel too bad about starting to sell some of my investments now with the storefront, especially considering I don't have to play the game of like, am I going to sell minus 15% of what the market value is because of shipping and fees, right? I can go in and say, hey, if I go to the store right now and sell it for 180, sell it for 190, 200, however much I want to sell it for at the store, I am only going to have to pay the transactional fee associated with it. I won't have to play the TCG player fee along with the shipping cost. And so it makes me feel a lot more comfortable to take it. But that's just because of my situation and how it's changed with me personally. But if that didn't happen, then it would have been something where I would have personally waited until it was time for me to where I felt like it was a good selling point at taking profits before I went and got my home. With the way in which prices have gone right now, I would honestly keep waiting and waiting and waiting because I don't see it really slowing down at this moment in time. But, you know, I'm in a little bit of a different situation, and it's not like I'm going to have the storefront and it's all going to sell at once. It'll take its time, but that's fine by me because I don't mind because prices continue to climb.
Yeah, I was gonna say that question's for you, but I'm not selling any of my positions either. It's doesn't make sense right now. Everything's too strong.
Yeah, stop trying to chase the top. Stop trying to get cute. It's not needed right now. Here's interesting. Question: what year do you expect to make your initial investment? Oh, this was also the same question. Is it a part of the
No, I think
equation?
he meant about the store, right?
Oh, what year do you expect to make your initial
Maybe
investment
not.
back? Is it a part of the equation or diamond hands for just 30 years?
Maybe not.
I am not. Well, if we kind of are going into the same question Celestial had, I will kind of elaborate on that more. I am not the diamond hands 30-year type person. Like, I am a firm believer of, you know, sitting on a product for, you know, several years for sure. I mean, I've done it before, but ultimately at the end of the day, I think that there's ever evolving opportunities that just feel like no brainers. And to me, if there is a position, and we've talked about this before, where I feel like I've made insane returns on an item, or an item has not performed as well as I would have liked and it's kind of gone sideways, I feel comfortable enough to reevaluate those positions and liquidate to get into one where I feel like it's just a home run, like with Lost Origin,
Can
right?
we do that right now?
Huh?
Can we do that right now?
Do what?
Let's break down an item right now.
Elaborate, like the
No,
like
like
return?
for me, I want to get your opinion.
Yeah, go for it.
Celebrations.
Oh, that's a good one.
I've been thinking about it lately, like especially like at the beginning of the year when I did inventory and taxes and all that. I'm looking, I'm like, man, is it time to just finally just get out and move into something that's going to be moving? Or is it like, am I selling too early and then a couple of years, another anniversary is going to come, this is going to pump? Like, what's your feelings on celebrations? Or chat? You feel free to chat it up too. I'd love to get people's opinions on this.
You know, it's funny you say that because literally when I get the storefront like all set up and I've kind of gotten what I've wanted out of it, my mind has been thinking, all right, what are the items that I want to start like getting into? And for me, I would just kept thinking to myself and I kept saying, Celebrations is way too cheap. And I am so, and maybe this is like an emotional thing, but for me with Celebrations, it's not like the other specialty sets. It's not like Shining Fates. It's a set that is a once every 5 years type event. And for me, I feel like it could just go crazy anytime. And my belief, right, is that obviously we're still a year or two away from the next announcement of what the 30th anniversary is. But when that does get announced, it's going to be insane. And so for me, I think of it as almost, hey, in the next couple of months, I'm going to start potentially looking into putting in positions for it. Now, I think you could definitely make an argument that you might have gone in too early into celebrations, but I don't really think that's the case.
No,
You know,
I'm still happy with the gains. Like
I like celebrations. I like it, and I feel like it's one of those items where it, like I said, is different between the other comparable specialty sets, and it could be one that pops off at any time. And I feel really confident in that when the 30th anniversary hype starts to build around that, that 25th will start to get some sentimental value around it.
yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of where we are with it. So I think that one I would honestly be looking more into adding than I would take away. But I don't think there's still a rush to add into it as this next moment in time. I think there's better positions I like, but for sure in the next year to 6 months, I definitely would say that celebrations is something that's on my radar for now that I want to start adding to a position on.
Gotcha. But yeah, by the way, I'm same as you. Like, and I've always been clear about that. Like, nothing for me is like the buy and hold till forever, bury me with it. Like, there's always times to sell. It's just from what we said earlier, I just don't see any time to sell, especially in a sword and shield right now. It just seems like things are moving, in the right direction. The hype's still there. The popularity, demand, they're still selling. And they just don't seem like these hit price targets to where they're going to go stagnant for a while. Like, if these boxes start getting in like 3, 4, 500s and it looks like they're going to remain there for a while, I might start thinking about it. But in the high hundreds, low 200s on most of them, it just doesn't make sense to sell right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. Let's see if we have some other questions that we want to get into.
Yeah, everyone's pretty much saying hold. Hold.
John. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, here, I'll kind of point this out. Not too long ago, Eli for sure thought special set celebrations was a better buy than ES. How quickly things can change, but ES set the bar so high with quality of alt arts. Well, it's one of those things where I feel like, and this is obviously me just kind of talking about my evolution and my, what's the word I'm looking for? Like my maturity within the market as I start to realize certain patterns and trends. As much as I hate to say it, like these specialty sets take way longer to mature than booster boxes. That's just how it is. Like if you want to see the like long-term potential growth of ETBs, at least what we've seen historically, I mean, it's still pretty new because we're in a completely different era now where it's a lot more prevalent to print them. They don't happen overnight. Like it takes way more time versus booster boxes. We've seen time and time again booster box volatility continue to climb, right? And so for me, it's like my position has changed in that aspect where if I am getting into ETB positions, I'm doing it on the back end of it going out of rotation, right? Like if I'm like a fan of Lost Origin Silver Tempest, getting into those positions where they're super cheap right now, but I am not adding in unless I'm getting it for either dirt cheap or I feel as if it's right before rotation is going to occur. Because, I mean, think about it. Like, technically speaking, even then, I'll still wait. Because Darkness Ablaze and Vivid is out of rotation. But Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage ETBs are still super duper cheap. But at the end of the day, I'm not going and looking and saying, wow, Darkness and Vivid ETBs are super cheap. Let me just like add on to that position. Because all I've seen is sideways. Like, maybe I'll pick up a small position of it more so than what I have right now. But it just feels like it just needs more time because it hasn't hit. But when it does have that time where it does hit, it's going to no longer be $30 of Darkness Ablaze ETB. It's all of a sudden going to be 100, 150. And we're going to say, holy crap, look at how it climbed. So, and you can't really time those things. That's what's hard. It's less predictable, I feel like, than booster boxes. Booster boxes to some aspect are more predictable because ETBs they go sideways, up. At least with booster boxes, they'll go up, but it'll be in like 3 to 6 month periods. You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, I mean, it's like you could play. It's so hard playing like the time frame games because there was also a time where Celebrations was outperforming Evolving Skies. I mean, the UPCs especially, like the UPCs out of the gate outperformed Evolving Skies booster boxes immediately, and they stayed up at those like 300-400 levels for a while Evolving Skies still hadn't moved out of the 100s. And so, I mean, it's all time frames. Like when you look at things, when you got in, when you got out, it's hard to know.
Yeah. No, it is definitely hard to know. And it's interesting too, because like I've obviously been in Pokemon forever, right? I've talked about it before. I've been into Pokemon since I was 5 or 6 years old. My first ever product that I ever got, I remember it was a Walmart EX Tyranitar tin, and my brother got the Ho-Oh tin. He pulled the Mew Gold Star. And that's why, like, for me, it's like that's when I first got into it. And Diamond and Pearl was massive for me. Black and White was massive for me. I got Reback introduced into Sun and Moon. I did a little bit of XY, but and like I kind of was on and off with XY, but then I really started to get into the second half of Sun and Moon.
Missed
So
out,
for
man.
I did miss out, right? So for me, it's like I've been a fan of Pokemon since I mean, I'm 25. I've been a fan of Pokemon for 20 years. But as like an investor slash market follower, this is something that I've realistically been doing for the past 5 years now, right? And so with that, it's like there's so much nuances to it when taking the fundamental things that I've learned from investing, because I've been in, which is crazy to say, but like I've been investing in stocks since I was like 11. And I was a kid that loved following it because my parents were really big on me understanding like finances from a young age, learning how to invest, being smart fundamentally with money. I mean, I took my first personal finance class when I was in 5th grade. Like I literally was constantly always interested in investing. That was something I enjoyed. Remember when I opened my first Charles Schwab account, like, so taking a lot of the like nuances of traditional and also crypto, and then taking that into Pokemon, and then really trying to learn the ebbs and flows of the market. A lot of it's very predictable because we do have the data which we have in front of us, such as the cost of wholesale, cost of MSRP, and general market cycles. But then also trying to figure out like how each and every product performs different throughout the years as certain supply runs start to affect the way in which that is foreseen, right? Because if you looked back in like the plasma or storm era, if you looked back into the XY era, who would have known that ETBs would have been the next product that everyone would have got? It was a new speculative thing, right? It's kind of like with the booster bundles, right? Stadiums, like there's so many different items that come in and out within Pokemon's history. And so constantly trying to find a way to figure out, okay, like how can we predict the nuances that come with these items, and knowing what is speculative and what is not is, I mean, it's all speculative, but you get the point that I'm making. So it's definitely something that's ever evolving as you continuously be a part of this market and mature and see the history and what repeats itself. Okay. Whew, that was a lot. Anything you want to say? I just kind of went for it, dude. Where are we? We're at an hour and 17. We've been going for a while.
No, man, we got 180 people in here. We got to keep it moving.
We got to keep it moving with 180 people. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the algorithm out if you do those things. I mentioned it before. I'll keep mentioning
What do you really care, though? I mean, you're not a YouTuber anymore.
I am. Come on, freaking A, man. Hey, it's hard. I will once I get the storefront set up, I will start posting regularly again. I just need to get the storefront open. It's an everyday thing with that. But yeah, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, helps the channel. And then, like I said before, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested at wholesale program, Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Flesh and Blood, and so much more at wholesale prices, make sure to message me on Discord or check the link down in the description below. We have almost 120 members in the program, and it is an active, thriving community of like-minded individuals. What do you snicker? You're one of those members. Get out of here.
No, I just like an active, thriving community.
Thriving community. Hey, dude. I mean, a lot of people
talk
in the channel. It is. There's a ton of people that talk. I mean, that's one of the things that is nice about the wholesale program is I would say one of the biggest benefits is the chat, because there's so many like conversations being had, and then also being able to see the orders in real time of what people are buying, and us saying, hey, here's an item we noticed is picked up in value, might be worth getting.
Yeah, and like, hey, guys, like I'm in the program. I don't get like a commission or affiliate for like selling it or anything. But yeah, I mean, Eli's right. Like just having access to so many people that are, resellers or trying they're in so many different avenues. Having the order flow so you can see what every single person ordered, and you can, chat and ask them why they bought it and what their thought process is. Everyone's really, really open to talk about whatever their plays are and stuff. So there is a lot of value in just that, just being in the group and understanding what's going on out there in the plays. So I agree with that.
Oh man, here's an interesting question. I want you to take this one first. Do you still see value in PC ETBs?
They don't seem as hot. Yeah. All right. So here's the thing. What are we comparing? Scarlet Violet era? Well, PC ETBs may not be doing like anything crazy, but the booster boxes aren't either. So like if you're comparing them, I mean, there's the PC ETB is still selling the open market usually higher than what they sold for on Pokemon Center. Booster boxes are pretty much still at or under market. So it's like they're technically outperforming booster boxes currently. In Sword and Shield era, most of them were, I did a video on it, and most all of them were the second best performing product next to booster boxes. And so I just think all Scarlet Violet era is taking some time to get going. I think it's too early to say that, you know, they aren't too hot anymore. I mean, 151's hot, right? I mean, that one's like $100. So that's pretty hot. It's doubled. Whereas like a regular ETB or a UPC or a booster bundle hasn't doubled. I guess a booster bundle almost doubled. But so, I mean, I think it's too early to tell. I think they could still do really well.
What makes it hard to answer that question for me is like, are we talking about ones in like that are not sold out or ones that are sold out on the Pokemon Center website, right? Because first and foremost, the fact that Brilliant Stars one hasn't sold out yet is still mind-boggling to me, because right now you've got the Obsidian Flames and the Paldea Evolved one sold out first. But in terms of
I think it's the promo. I think it's the promos.
You think it's the promos? I can see that. But here's my thing, guys. The one thing that I haven't changed my opinion on is if there is a hot specialty set, it is so free to get a Pokemon Center ETB. I mean, Crown Zenith is the perfect example. For those of you guys that like were listening to me back when Crown Zenith was being hyped up, I was like, it's free tendies. Like, please get the Crown Zenith ETB. Like, it was one of my top 5 items. I wouldn't shut up, stop hyping it up. Same thing goes with the Celebrations ETB. And I remember, like, listen, I was hyping it up, but even I didn't anticipate it would shoot up to 130 for the Pokemon Center Crown Zenith one, like a week after release or the lead up to it. So for me, that was one I was super like proud of and happy that it performed well. Celebrations one as well. I went heavy in the Celebrations one. Like I went super heavy and I was buying it, you know, at 65. And I remember selling like, you know, this was in the transition of me moving from Oregon to Arizona, but like I was selling them for like 115 and I was feeling great about it. Cause I was like, I literally just bought these and I've already made like 30-40% return. Like this is pretty sweet. So, you know, I was buying quite a bit of Paldean Fates off the gate. That was one I was a huge fan of. I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because obviously you really don't know which one's going to be in stock and which one's going to be out of stock. The only thing I can really say to that is, at least from what I've seen so far, is the specialty sets, at least to some degree, have been more consistent. Those are the ones that I feel like you can feel more confident in going in. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much every one of them, right? Celebrations. I think even the Pokemon Go one is decent. Crown Zenith, you got 151 pound. Yeah, I mean, the specialty set, I think it's because there's no booster box. If people don't have a booster box to chase, it seems like they're using that as their chase item.
Well, the Pokemon Go was an interesting one because it went out of stock and then the price went up really high and then it started to get back in stock and then the price kind of corrected. So it's kind of one of those weird ones where it's in stock right now, but when it was out of stock, the price was at a decent point. I can't remember. I think it broke over 100. But yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting to see because like you look at Paldea Evolved, right? It's selling for 85 on TCG Player. Like it's more than what you bought it for, but I mean, after shipping and fees, it's basically like you sold it at cost. Looking at Obsidian Flames Elite Trainer Box, pulling it up right now on my side of things.
Bullish on me. Pokemon Go is only your biggest L if you sell. No one gets hurt. They don't jump off the roller coaster.
Yeah, right. Pokemon Go, baby. Oh man.
No, here's a good question though from who was it? John. Let's see. Yeah, John Doe. We must hear better buy $700 Evolving Skies BB or $100 Evolving Skies ETB. That's the question.
Why is that so hard to answer? What do you think? I want your initial reaction.
Booster box.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yeah, I guess. It just feels crazy to say that out loud.
Hey, RNG Games is in the house.
Oh, is he really now?
What is up?
What is up, good sir? Let's see what he said. Stonk dog in the house. Can you teach me how to spend my points? Oh, yeah, baby. Okay, so shout out to RNG Games. If you don't know who he is, I've been a huge advocate for him forever. He's the one that showed me the ropes for those of you guys that are in the program when it came to TCG player, but more importantly, Magic. So totally check out his channel. But so him and I talk sometimes behind the scenes. And he has a bunch of Amex credit card points, and he did a redemption once where he didn't use a transfer partner. And I was like, for those of you guys that know anything about credit card spend, I was like, you're not getting the max value with your credit card points. What are you doing? Like, you're missing out on all this additional value. And so I was just giving him a hard time about it because I was like dying. You're probably not. Your face looks like I have no clue what this guy's talking about.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Are you not into the credit card point world at all?
There's a credit card point world.
Oh, dude, big time, buddy. Big time world. So like,
hold on. Are we going to get pitched a Ty Lopez course?
We're not going to get pitched to Ty Lopez course, but okay. I mean, so like credit cards in general, and this will be a fun one for people that are going to get exposed to it. So you've got your traditional cash back, which you get whatever percentage back, and then you get points, right? So if you have a card that's like 2% cash back, you get 2% of every dollar you spend, right? Simple as that. But then there's point transfers. I mean, it's kind of like Chase, Amex, Citi, and these points you can earn, and then you can take those points and transfer them to transfer partners or use them in portals. And so the transfer partners are like airlines. They're like, what's the word I'm looking for? Hotel,
so
resort.
You're saying if you don't want to use them for cash back.
Yeah. If you want to go with a credit card that specializes in credit card points instead of cash back, you can find additional value, because how it works is with cash back, it's a set rate. It's 2%. But with these points, you're earning these points, but they have their own value, right?
Yeah.
So how the credit card companies value them is they value them at 1 cent per point. Kind of like if you were to say, I get 2x points, it's 2% or 2 cents per dollar. But if you transfer them to some other partners, there's times where those 2 points could actually be worth 8 cents per point or 8x back in value. And so that's why it's important to really know the nuances if you are someone that likes to get into the credit card world of transfer partners, bonuses, and stuff. So
I just love how you keep calling it the credit card world.
Dude, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy, man. Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to be walking through like Universal Studios, like, oh, it's credit card world.
Yeah, no, it's big. I mean, listen to this. I spent 1 million points to go to Vegas and I almost lost my mind. Yeah, I lost my mind because 1 million points is so much. That's so crazy to me. Like, I literally booked a trip for my mom to fly business economy to Japan, like from LAX to Japan. And it cost her 35,000 points plus $40. And the cash rate for the card, or no, it was 50,000 plus $40. And the cash rate for the booking was $2,000. So she ended up spending, like, if you say 50,000,
you basically got 4% worth of points.
I mean, no, she basically say 50,000 points plus $40. You know, we'll say it's 1 cent per point, right? So $540 worth of points plus cash. If she had booked it not with points but paid in cash, it was a $2,200 ticket. So she saved, what was that, 75% of what it would have cost her if she had paid $2,200. Instead, she ended up paying $540. So like, and it's to Japan, so she gets to go into like the Japan premium lounges as well. So it's like, I was like, because I was talking to my mom about it, and she's like, "Oh, how do I go about this? I have my American Airlines points." And I'm like, "You got to use these points the right way. Let me help you with this." So when he said $1 million, dude, $1 million Amex points goes a long way if you know how to use it. And if you don't, it gets burned immediately. I mean, a good one I did recently was I did a first class lie flat seat from Phoenix round trip to Honolulu in their new luxury air cruiser. And it's like a lie flat in its own mini cabin, $600 round trip. Cash value was $2,200 for that. So like, I am big into the credit card world. So that's kind of my thing, man. I get excited about when I hear people talk about cash back. So he said we'll have to do a live stream with RNG Games where I literally sit there and help him plan his trips so that I can try and give him value. Cause I'm crazy when it comes to
new Pokemon course coming soon.
Yeah, right. New Pokemon course coming soon, man.
Credit card course.
Well, it's helpful too, because like for those of you guys that know what Rakuten is, do you know Rakuten?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Rakuten uses Amex points. And so if you use Rakuten, you can have an option to check out with Amex points, which allows you to earn points while you're buying Pokemon product, in addition to like whatever you're earning with that card you're using, right? So you could use a credit card, earn points on the credit card, go shop in an area where Rakuten allows you to earn cash back or points for Amex. So you're double dipping. So like the nuances to how much you can earn in points when buying Pokemon as an invest, like it's crazy if you go down the rabbit hole.
All right, let's go down that rabbit hole next time.
Yeah,
get RNG Games on here. We'll all three just go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we'll do it in another video because I can go. I will go crazy for this. So, but all right, what's the next one?
Eli is wrong. Type of content he needs to talk about is this. The passion is clear.
Wait, what?
Poke Collector J says Eli is wrong. Type of content he needs to talk about this. Passion is clear.
Oh, I know, right? Eli's
make a credit card channel.
Oh,
you need a credit card channel.
He's like getting excited over it. Well, I talk about Pokemon all the time, so it's not one of these things where the passion isn't there. It's my day-to-day life. It's just I never get to talk to anyone about credit card points because whenever I talk to my wife about it, she's like, "Shut the fuck!" Like I'm over it. Like just book the flight. I don't care. I'm like, but babe, I saved us so much money. It's so cool, babe. I saved us $1,000. Don't you care? And she's like, good job, good job. I'm like, I want the pat on the back for saving money, man. It's a great feeling when you save money. But oh god, people are asking questions now about how they should do their point spending. That's so funny.
I saw that sparkle in your eyes. Eli found his calling.
I see the sparkle in your eyes. Oh gosh, that's so funny. All right, let's ask a Pokemon question. Interested to guess, ESBB will hit 1400 before. I mean, this we kind of answered this question more or less. Yeah. That's an interesting one though. 1400 before 200.
That was the question.
But you said which? But you said which do you think will perform better? I guess you're right. But like now we're putting ranges about it. 1400.
Here's the thing. I don't even think the question's kind of off because I don't even think Evolving Skies ETBs are that high.
They're at like 110, I think.
No, they're not. No.
They're not.
Oh, it looks like they are back up. They're 100. So lowest one on the market's 85 plus 15 shipping. And then the other artwork is, see, last time I looked, they were at 90. So they did rise. Yeah, 99 plus 2 shipping. Okay, so they are at $100. Never mind. My bad. So yeah, it's a right question.
Well, I mean,
my bad, John Doe. I was wrong.
Yeah, no, there's one I'm looking at right. I mean, there's multiple that are selling for 110. Like there's one that sold for 104. There's one that sold for 95 plus $15 shipping. Like they're still selling for around 105, 110, lowest is 100. So I mean, you're asking, I guess, the question of what do you think is going to 100% hit first? Because it's 700, 1400, 100, 200. I don't know. That kind of changes it for me. I mean, it just feels like going from 100 to 200 shouldn't be that difficult, but also going back to the same discussion about ETB values. But here's the real thing, right? Is like what are the value of packs right now for Evolving Skies? They're right around $10, right? They're realistically around $10 a pack.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying to yourself $1,400, divide that
Well,
by
here's the thing.
36,
Well, dude, packs
that's
and booster boxes aren't valued the same.
I know they're not valued the same, but here's the point that I'm making, right? If you're saying to yourself, Evolving Skies right now, right? A booster box of Evolving Skies is going for $700 inside the packs. You're paying $20 a pack, right? So you're paying a 2x premium right now for getting the booster box pack equivalency, right? In that exact same equation, you're saying that the value right now would have to hit $39 per pack within the booster box. Take that half. You're basically saying that $20 is the price point that Lucy's for Evolving Skies needs to hit. Theoretically, if we're following about that same metric, right? Whereas Elite Trainer boxes, right? 200, there's 8 of them inside of it, just has to hit $25 a pack within the ETBs.
I wish I would have paid more. I wish I would have. Yeah, gosh.
Think about that. Think about how like crazy that is to think about. Because like right now, right, with them saying that they're at $100 a pop, right?
No, that's not right. There's only 8 packs in ETBs.
Yeah, exactly. 200 divided by
if it got to 20 a pack, it'd still only be 160.
No. So 200 divided by 8 is 25.
Okay.
Which is what I had said to get the $25 a pack. Then you
so
go.
They would have to more than double. Yeah, I'm still taking I just think the sealed nature of the booster box is more valuable than the packs rising to that value.
But I guess here's the point that I'm making, right? The point that I guess I'm making with this is that right now, booster box pack values are, you're basically paying right now $20 a booster pack for booster box packs, and then you're paying roughly around $10 for Lucy's. You're currently paying $12.50 for ETB. So there is a premium for the ETB packs, obviously, because I mean, what comes with it, right? So ultimately, the question you have to ask yourself is, what makes more realistic sense? The price per pack value of booster boxes hitting $40, or the price per pack value of ETBs hitting $25 when you break it down that way? I know it's kind of a hard way to look at it because there is already such a wide gap right now between it being 20 versus 12.50. But I think a spread of $7.50 compared to a $15 spread, like the gap between the price of ETBs compared to boosters is drastically bigger now. And that's where it makes it really hard for me, and why I think I might go with the ETB route, even if I feel like the exponential growth right now for booster boxes has been stronger. Like like out the gate, immediately my mind goes, with the way in which booster boxes have been performing, it feels like booster boxes are so strong right now. But if you're like, hey, what if it hits this point before this point, that kind of changes the outlook of it.
I mean, the other issue is we don't. I mean, it's not fair. Because I get what the argument here is, but like, you know, if you think about it logistically too, though, it's like, I don't want to buy 7 ETBs, even if the percentage gain was correct and the ETBs did grow more. It's like, well, now you got to ship, unless you're going to sell in person, you got to ship at all 7 of those ETBs, and so like all the shipping for all that might eat into your profits enough to where it does put you back under. Like, I'd rather stick with just the one booster box for me.
Well, you probably end up buying a case in that case. Like, you know, obviously if we're capped by $700, then yes, you're 100% right. I think the biggest argument against more or less the point that I'm making is that right now, this is a conversation of what do we think is going to hit first? But regardless of what we think is going to hit first, what feels like the safer play? It's the booster box. Like the booster box.
I think it'll be similar. I think they'll hit. I think they'll hit those price points relatively similar. I really do.
Oh, man, it's so hard for me to know. But yeah, I think like when you,
then it would be the same. It'd be the same scenario, like a $25 pack compared to a $39. Like, it's kind of the same as like a $10 compared to a whatever it is now. It seems right.
Potentially, but it's also hard to know because like you can't compare this to Sun and Moon era boosters, right? Like, you can't go and look at Unified Minds and say, oh, a Unified Minds booster box is going for, $750. But the ETB itself, I mean, let me see. What's the ETB going for?
Yeah, guys. Hey, anyone new to the hobby, it's a good, think of, do not kill yourself by going to XY and Sun and Moon and looking at those ETB prices and convincing yourself that Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet is going to mimic that. It couldn't be further from the truth. XY, Sun and Moon, completely different scenario. ETBs were very short printed. They weren't reprinted most of the time. It was actually accepted back in the day that Pokemon, if they reprinted things, they would always be booster boxes because they didn't want to reprint the dice and the sleeves. And so that was actually a selling point was, well, they don't usually reprint ETBs because they don't want to reprint all that stuff. And so that's why they were seen as a good investment. So things have changed. So it's real. Do not look at Sun and Moon and XY and try to predict Sword and Shield, Scarlet, Violet movement. That's on ETBs is all I would say.
Well, so kind of looking at it, just like to kind of go to the point of uncomparing, Unified Minds booster box is $750 right now. The ETB is going for $350. So by that, same comparison, the ETB for Evolving Skies right now should be around $300-ish. That's where it should be. And so that's why it's kind of tough because we don't really have anything to compare it to and knowing how it's going to perform in the same way. So it's like when you do the math, the ETB hitting it $200 first makes more sense. But for me, it feels safer to go booster box. And so your thought process of it could hit right around the same is definitely possible for sure. Man, it's just so hard because the spread different.
Put it this way, if you're thinking of both, I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah,
if you don't want to pay $700 but you want Evolving Skies, I don't think it's a bad play to buy a $100 ETB. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, 1000%.
It's a good pickup.
Yeah, no, I agree. Would you sell it $1,400 or hold? I mean, dude, we're talking hypotheticals upon hypotheticals. This is
I don't know.
Down the rabbit hole, bro.
That might get very real in another year or so.
I mean, a good point to make is as booster boxes get more out of reach of newer entries in the hobby, I think we see more people value the ETBs. I think that makes total sense. And that was what I kept mentioning within the spread, because right now the pack price value from an ETB compared to a booster box is $7.50. If they were to both hit the price point that was given by John Doe, the spread now is $15. That's a huge spread for a premium on a sealed item. And for me, it's like, at what point are you collecting because you just want to collect the booster and the ETB artwork and you value the packs inside themselves? So I think what you're saying is kind of a testament to that kind of argument between the spread of the two.
I do like Poke Collector Jay thinking we are whales, though. He says a $200 ETB is much easier to sell for normal people. Dude, I'm just as normal as you are, man. I think we're both just normal guys here. I promise you.
I mean, it's all tough, man, when it gets to those numbers. It's still weird to think about that people are spending $700 for a booster box of Evolving. When you think about that, for some people, if they're paid on a weekly basis, that's a paycheck, bro. That's a paycheck for some people. So for me, I'm phew, that's a lot, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've said it from the beginning. It's just all you hear from any news network is, about inflation, about people, getting laid off, not being able to make their bills, can't buy houses, can't make rent, can't afford foods getting higher, gas is getting higher. All you hear is this. And then all you see is all these collectible markets going up, up, up and away. Crypto markets going up, up, up and away. Stock market up, up, up. There is a huge disconnect right now in the people who have money to invest and then the people trying to make it. It's strange. Very strange.
Oh man. Speaking of ETB shipping, is it worth it to break down regular ETBs and just sell the loose packs? I scooped up some Silver Tempest ETBs for $230 a case. It's a good price. That's a good pickup price. But breaking it down, dividing it by 8, that's $2.87.5 per.
I think people have some success selling 36 pack lots as like a quote unquote booster box where you're not getting killed by shipping. Where you might be able to do well with that. I think you just have to do the math.
Yeah, well, what also makes it tough too is like, speaking of doing the math, right? I think they're selling right now for like $33 a piece on TCG Player. So if you say to yourself, all right, $33 a piece on TCG Player, how much is it going to cost for you to sell each of the ETBs if you were to just do them individually? You're going to lose money, no doubt. So you have to sell it off as a case. If you're going to do that and you're going to sell it off as a case, you're saying to yourself that you're going to make, let's do some math here. It's going to be what, 87% because of a 13% fee minus 10. How much do you think it would probably cost? Like $20 to ship an ETB case, you think?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I've
Probably
discounted
what, like
rates, so
8,
it's
like
different.
6 to 8 to ship an ETB?
Oh yeah. Well, we're talking if you were to break it down into literal loosies and sell the loose packs versus sell off the case, right? Because if you were to sell off the case, I'm doing the math right now. If you were to sell off the case with 13% fees, TCG Player, 20 in shipping, he's 267.1. So he's making $37.01, which
It's
I
not bad.
mean, $37.01 divided by
It's like 15%.
230, that's a 16%. Yeah, that's I mean, that's not bad. Versus if you say to yourself, I mean, if you're selling it off in a lot, I guess the thing is like, can you get more extracted value than $330 for a case when you factor in shipping, factor in fees? That's the question you ultimately have to ask yourself with that, because Lucy's right now are really cheap. Like loose packs are pretty freaking cheap last time I saw. I don't know how they are on eBay, but I mean,
Well,
here, let me.
TCG Player, the last one sold for $116.98 for a 36 pack. So 2 of those would only be
Well,
$232.
let's look at actual like lowest listed. So lowest listed right now, you've got one at 298, one at 310, one at 314, 319, 322. You're not getting value from selling the Lucy's. Like I hate to say it, but like you're just losing value by
You only
breaking
get
it
80,
down
you
in
only
that
get
way.
80 packs. That's barely over 2 booster boxes. Like you're gonna be better off selling the case.
Yeah, I mean, and right now obviously it's hard because the case value is so much worse than selling off the individual ETB value. But I feel like the problem is with that is cases don't really sell super hot on TCG Player. It's easier to sell cases off TCG Player on like an eBay or like in a, Facebook marketplace group. So, I mean, because think about it right now, if you say to yourself, let me go sell this in a Facebook marketplace group for $280, $20 to ship, you're gonna walk out with around the same profit as if you were selling it for 330 on TCG Player, which is gonna be a struggle. Like it's just
If
hard.
it was me, I just listed a little higher than market on eBay, slap a nice little 2.5% or so ad fee on it, and it'd probably sell.
Makes more sense that way. I mean, you don't even need to sell it right now, too. Like, if this is a question of selling, this is the approach we take, but there's no need to sell an item that just got a reprint / resupply. I mean, we had a huge dump of like ETBs for Silver Tempest and Lost Origin recently. But oh man, we're almost at 2 hours and I'm starting to lose my voice here. Let's go answer like one or two more questions. Then I got to get out of here. Your boy's got so much stuff I still have to take care of today. What are you reading?
You're good. I'm just looking at the prices. Yeah, man, it's not looking good. Like
No, it's
people
not.
Pete, 249. Anderson Authentics just sold one for 225 for a case.
On eBay? Oh, that's
You might want to hold off on
crazy.
the Silver Tempest case right now, man.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. Man, yeah, well then dude, you're struggling. You're going to lose either way then, dude. You're going to lose either way if you go loose packs
You only
or
lose if you jump off the roller coaster, Eli.
That's what I'm saying,
Eric,
dude.
just stay on, man. Hold on for dear life. You know what? Even have some fun with it. Just throw your arms up, scream. It'll make the time go by faster.
Here, you want to take another question for us? Is there anyone you see?
Not especially, no. People just kind of responding to everything we're saying. I think that's pretty much the last question we got, man. Here we go. We just got one. Take it, the last one, man.
Give me 2 seconds, good sir.
Why do you think launch prices for all of the Temporal Forces SIRs were so low? It felt so weird based on previous sets. I mean, were they that low? I'd have to look back at look at all the other sets. Like obviously Obsidian Flames Charizard was super high. Obviously 151 was super high. I can't remember Paradox Rift. Were those all like over $100 for the Roaring Moon and the Iron Valiant? But yeah, I mean, I think what happened was people realized either there is some buyouts happening, or there was, and then two, people realized the hit rates are actually a lot worse. So I've seen some hit rates, people put out with like 2,000 pack openings and showing that they're like similar, if not harder to hit than a lot of alt arts. Like we're talking like 600 and 800 packs to get a specific SIR. And I think that's probably weighing into people's decisions to, ask for more money or hold on to the cards or pay more for them. But I don't know. Like, I guess Eli could probably tell you maybe more than me. He might pay attention to the market closer at release.
So wait, can you point the exact question that was asked?
Yeah, it's 5 comments up from Pandito 4. Why do you think the launch prices for all TF's SIRs were so low? I felt weird based on previous sets. Did it feel like they were all really low to you?
For all the Temporal Forces SIR were so low, it felt so weird based on previous sets. I get what he's saying. No, that makes sense.
Were all previous sets like higher?
I mean, I can't say all previous sets were higher.
What was like Paradox Rift, like Iron Valiant?
Rift was also low. Paradox Rift was also low. It's been so different between each set, so it's hard to say. Like I was looking at Temporal when it was releasing, and I was saying to myself, a lot of these feel low. I would not be surprised if prices went up. Because if you remember here, we can probably pull it up with Paradox Rift. Roaring Moon was selling for like 50, 60 bucks at the time. Now, obviously it's at that price as it stands right now. But okay, so if you look at the pre-sale price for it, it was pre-selling for 75 and then it went all the way up to 115. Now, since then, it is obviously corrected down way lower than that. But to kind of add to his point, like the price of it was pre-selling for way less than what it was available for on market. Same thing goes with Iron Valiant. It was pre-selling for 50, shot all the way up to 75.
What about the Iron Hands craziness right now?
The Iron Hands craziness, I think it'll probably follow suit, honestly.
I think it's got to be playable, right?
That's a good question. I haven't.
We're seeing we see a regular EX selling for $20.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would have to look into it a little bit more. I haven't been following the competitive market as closely lately, but I mean, if you're just talking,
like the Iron Hands is now the second most valuable card in the set now.
In Temporal?
Yeah. So if you look at Temporal, it's the second most valuable card, and then the full art is like the 6th, and then the regular EX is the next one. So there's something up with Iron Hands all of a sudden.
Am I dumb? Iron
Hands? Sorry, I thought we were talking Paradox.
Oh, Paradox. Oh my gracious. I was so confused. Like Iron Hands? I was like, what?
So it goes Roaring Moon, then Iron Hands directly after. Like Iron Valiant's falling down to 4.
Yes. No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying now.
It's strange.
Ooh, wow. That's a crazy card.
And then look at like the regular EX. It's 2130 market price.
Well, like so the card, one of the card attacks is if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, take 1 more prize card. That's huge. Like that's a hugely advantageous ability. Because like if we're talking Pokemon that allow you to get 2 prize cards because it's an EX, and you knock out like an EX Pokemon, you knock out 2 EXs with Iron Hands, you win the game. Like that can be really good. So yeah, I think definitely there is some competitive value to it, or at least so far speculatively based on the fact that the price has shot up over the past looks like month. So it's different though, man. Going back to his original question, it's a different thing to say because the market, if you remember if you remember like prices for Scarlet Violet base out the gate, they were already super expensive. I mean, the Miriam was so crazy expensive, right? And then prices for it absolutely crashed.
Well, the
Iono,
boxes were really expensive too. I think it was just the MSRP rise had everyone like, pumping.
well, and then you also had the Iono, which the Iono also pumped, but it didn't start off high and dump. It pumped out the gate, but you had a lot of the cards outside of the Iono that were starting high dropped. I think the Magikarp and the Tyranitar were the other items that were like the outliers as well with the Iono. So you're going to have certain items within the set that are going to be like undervalued that are going to come up after the release and skyrocket in value. But for the most part, most of the items, other than like 3 or 4, will be priced appropriately. You're just trying to find those ones. Because like a perfect example again of that is I talked about the Groudon artwork, and that one shot up, and then it's now since corrected. I'm not a fan of the Pokemon itself a ton, but the card work I would not shut up about. The Aerodactyl in Lost Origins, that one spiked in value. So it's just items that start off low on pre-sale that have speculative value that go up. So this has been going on back since the, Sword and Shield era for when we're talking about art designs. But all right. Do you want one more question or do you want to kind of finish it at that?
Yeah, it looks good. I don't see anything too crazy ass. So I think we did a good job today.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was a solid day today. I mean, we've been going for 2 hours, so I had a phone call I had to take because I'm pushing time right now. I got some things I got to take care of.
I was more worried about your camera, dude.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Camera's going strong today, but well, all right, we'll end it here, guys. Want to thank you guys once again so much for stopping by. Make sure before you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. If you want to check out Alex Nostalgianomics, you can check him out on his channel. Link will be down in the description below to check him out there. Then lastly, if you want access to Pokemon Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! Flesh and Blood, and so much more at wholesale prices, make sure to check us out. Links down in the description below for the wholesale program, or message me on Discord if you have any further questions. Links down in the description below for that. But that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Until then, we'll see you next Tuesday. Peace.